for the council to choose which streets you'd like to do, and so you would actually have a cost. Obviously, we'd like to try to keep it as close as possible, but developing alternatives or taking a street and saying, well, maybe we won't do Commercial Street if the bids come in not as favorable as we would like it. And that is something that once we get a little further along and we have a better estimate as to where we think these roads are going to go and what those costs would be, then we can nail that down.
Okay. Mr. Woods?
I'm just trying to get the numbers straight. We were originally budgeted 1.1 million
Without the alleys.
without the alleys.
Correct, 1.1 million for the resurfacing program this year.
And this new sufficiency study and their new budget is 1.
Almost
million.
1.3.
Almost 1.3. And given what Al Steffen said, and I think we can leave some of that up to staff too, they know where we want to be with the budget of 1.1, and I think John's shooting for that, if I'm not mistaken. And we still need to shuffle some things around. I don't want to drastically chop the alleys back out after we fought to get the alleys. I think we should continue with the alleys. Let you guys come back with some options to get that as close to the 1.1 million as we can get it, and everybody's happy at the end of the day. Thanks.
Alderman Roy Wesley?
Where does the alley come in by Holy Ghost?
This year.
Your question is, where does it come in location-wise?
Is it gonna be done this year?
It's in a separate program in the CIP under alley replacement. It's not part of this, what we're voting on tonight. The alleys are done in concrete. This is basically a pavement condition for our existing bituminous pavement, asphalt pavement out there. When we did the alley replacement, it was all in concrete, so that's a separate project. We did evaluate the alleys as part of this, but they're not part of the resurfacing program that we're speaking about tonight. There'll be a separate proposal later in June, just on the alleys.
In June?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? So, are you done with your presentation? Anyone have any concerns? So then, I will obtain the motion to move forward with the 2011 proposed resurfacing projects scheduled for 2011 to try to keep the cost down at $1.1 million. Wait, did I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All right, any questions? Alderman Winger?
So just so I'm clear on Commercial Street, are we changing what we're doing on there based on how it's proposed in the plan, Mr. Kramer?
Can you leave that up to staff? There are some areas on the what would be the east side of Commercial Street, the other side of Wooddale Road, that resurfacing was going to be on there. The areas in front of the pool and towards Grove, I believe those areas are still in need of some repair. We did some patches there 2 years ago. They have not held up as I would have liked. I would like to still do some. We will work with the city manager to get the parameters of that area and where the bulk of the construction is. But again, I would like to maintain that pavement on Commercial. There are some definite distresses over there. I do not want to let that get any worse. So if you could just let staff work with that, and we'll come to a happy medium where that work's going to take place and where best to utilize those funds.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Any other questions? Let's do a roll call vote on this. I'm sorry.
Alderman Woods? Yes. Alderman Roy Wesley?
Abstain?
Alderman Coles?
Yes.
Alderman Lazara? Yes. Alderman Sismarski?
Yes.
Alderman Eugene Wesley?
Yes.
Alderman Winger?
Yes.
Alderman Shockey?
Yes. Okay, carries. All right, let me find my. Okay, that's it. Thank you for coming. Okay, the other item, number 5, report of recommendation. Work order award to Baxter and Woods for design engineer service for 2011, 2012 resurfacing and sidewalk. Well, we just approved the, I might have made a mistake here. Mr. Kramer.
Let me talk you through this. This is basically a work order for Baxter and Woodman now to design the 2011-2012 street program that we just went through this evening. Basically taking our existing city bid documents, putting the quantities, the cross sections in those for the road program and setting those out for bid. It also includes for the sidewalk program this year, which this year will be combining those two into one bid, a street and a sidewalk bid, similar to what we did last year to take in consideration. There's going to be some curb work done with the resurfacing program, so that will have a concrete component, so it makes sense to include our sidewalk into that to get the benefit of combining that to get better pricing.
Okay, so it's both of them. Not to exceed $49,000. That will be my motion.
Second.
Well,
There's a second. Alderman Roy Wesley.
this is for the design of the roads?
It's for, we currently have a city standard, a city spec for our resurfacing program, but we have to put together the quantities, the number of feet we're doing, number of feet of curb we're doing.
Just resurfacing?
Correct. Patching, full depth patching may be included in that, resurfacing.
Okay, I got one, could I go on?
Sure.
You, these are the streets for, resurfacing in the gutters? Mr. Kramer?
Mr. Kramer.
No, that will change. Hoover Drive is, Park Lane is, and portion of Commercial Street is. Mill Road's not on there now. We've changed that. This was a preliminary draft based on, it changed once we gave you the draft for tonight's version.
So I'm voting on a contract that I don't have full information on.
You're voting on a contract for the amount of our street resurfacing study that we just proposed. We changed the material that's in here. The amount that they're designing is still $1.1 million worth of street improvements and approximately $100,000 worth of sidewalk improvements. Those numbers haven't changed. Linear feet more than likely probably is not going to change too much. And they understand that, I understand that, and you'll have a modified copy when we do the formal contract back to you for the project award.
Okay, because I do have some gutters in Elizabeth Park that are pretty well shot, so. I just-
That might be in the,
Well, I don't know, I don't have that. I don't get that information from Baxman. I don't know who's supposed to give it. I got half of it, so I guess I wait for the contract.
Kramer.
If you give me that information, I can look to see if it's on there. Currently, we're going off a sidewalk list that dates back to '05. And our resurfacing program, for the most part, is going to be the streets. The gutter work will be the streets that we're currently resurfacing. That'll be the concrete work. If there's outside of that, let me know. There's other avenues that I have to repair those outside of this document on the sidewalk repair.
Would this contract be in tomorrow's packet?
I don't know.
My question is, I don't wanna revise on Tuesday afternoon where I get 2 days to read it.
You'll have, before the contract is finalized, you'll have the correct list of streets.
Good answer around the corner. Or talk later.
Okay. All right, there's a motion, there's a second, all in favor? Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Woods? Mr. Kramer? Our woods?
This woods over here.
No.
Baxter changed his last name. I'll be in Friday for my check.
Okay. Go ahead. Oh, wait, you got a question?
Yeah, just clarification of what Baxter Woodsman, Woodman is doing for the 49,000. They're gonna spec out all the projects, street surfacing project for this fiscal year and the sidewalk replacement for this fiscal year.
Mr. Kramer?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor?
Quick question, John. I know you said they're gonna do the same amount of feet and this and that, but when they were talking earlier, they had mentioned 1.4 versus the 1.1 that's in our CIP. So is the 49,000 on the 1.4 or the 1.1? Because if it's the 1.4, then if we're only gonna do 1.1, we should get a discount.
Okay, go ahead.
The not to exceed amount would cover the larger program. It's what was proposed tonight.
The 1.4.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. 1.2, whatever, 85, yeah.
But if we're taking out that commercial, and I saw the alley right across the street from commercial off of Wooddale Road, nobody ever uses that alley. Why would we even bother? So,
Okay, go ahead.
We'll evaluate and cost estimate the total program and bring it to you guys as a detailed estimate.
All right. Now I'm totally confused here. So we approving a contract for $49 million, or $49,000, okay, tonight, with a proposal for roads of $1.4 million. Or 1.3.
We'll evaluate and design $1.3 million worth of roadways and at the preliminary estimate, and we'll pare that down to a $1.1 million project to meet the budget.
So we should get, so this contract shouldn't be at $49,000 then? So you gotta go back and redo this contract, because it should be at $49,000 if that's the case. Because you're gonna design it for 1.1 million.
You're massively confusing me.
No, I'm confused here, because there's been some valid points asked here today.
No,
You're
it's-
asking for approval of a $1.4 million road project, okay? For a contract for them to go ahead and do resurfacing and sidewalk, sign a contract for $49,000, which we now just made a commitment here to downside the road project to $1.1 million. So if you're doing $1.1 million, why would I pay $49,000 for a contract when this contract was designed for $1.4 million? You understand what I'm saying now, Jeff?
It's 1.25 million and it's a not to exceed 49,000. So you're getting all the engineering work, trying to spec all the projects out for the 2012 program.
But we already cut down on the program to 1.1 million.
Keep in mind, those are estimated costs. We don't know today for sure if it's going to cost 1.25. We have to engineer these projects out per the plan. If it comes in under 1.25, we have to have the projects ready to go.
So more or less, if you come back here with a project and with all, doing all your numbers, $1.1 million, this contract, I'm going to get a discount back. You're going to refund me just because I said the contract is $49,000. You're going to give me a rebate check. Am I correct with the contract?
That's irrelevant. It's $49,000 to engineer all the projects in the 2012 Streets Efficiency Plan. It's irrelevant. It's $49,000. Then if it comes within that budget, we do the projects.
Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Stuff.
I just want to reiterate a little bit. Yeah, it's $49,000 and it's all inclusive But recall, this is not a lump sum fee, and this is one of the reasons we set up our contracts this way. It's a not to exceed. So if early indication is that the estimates are going wrong or it's going to be too much, it wouldn't be a refund, but you just wouldn't be charged. If that's the direction and all of a sudden the direction changes, it's only for the time and the effort that was expended up to that point. So again, this is one of the reasons why we have chosen to go with a not to exceed, so that so we can give you that flexibility, so that if the road program gets pared back or something changes, or the state of Illinois does as they're talking about, and you want to bring it back down to a $900,000 program, you can do that, and you're not locked in with us for $49,000 asking us for a refund. Again, we only charge you for what we actually, time and money that we spend up on the project up to that point. So does that help?
Yes. Okay, we have a motion. We have a second?
What?
Any other questions? Okay, in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? She called her?
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
No, no.
I apologize. It was for the other.
Right.
Oh, I apologize.
Okay. So, any against? Okay, that motion carries. Okay. Report, all right, item number 6, report recommendation, work order, Baxter and Wood for GIS collection of city water service valve, traffic signs in the not to exceed amount of $129,000. I mean, $120,000. That is my motion.
Second.
There's a second. Okay. Questions? Art, want to take over the meeting for a minute? I have a emergency phone call I got to take.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
John, my question has to do with the contract for $120,000 to Baxter for this. Did we get competitive bids for this, or is this part of our agreement to go forward with Baxter?
This professional services is actually part of our contract with Baxter and Woodman 2, dated February of 2011, where they were part of this project at that point, so.
How long does this project continue then? Is this going to be ongoing for 5 years at X amount of dollars per year? John?
This a little bit. Back in 2007, 2008, the city started with Baxter and Woodman as a professional service contract to begin incorporating GIS into the big three. The big three is water, sanitary, and storm. At that point, the city made a commitment to stay with Baxter and Woodman through the completion of those projects. They have the base map, they have the data, original point data on all collection. It would behoove us to stay with them and competitive bids in relationship to a professional service. The state feels that a professional service is more important, that you are happy with your end result. You don't have to go to a competitive bid if it's a professional service. This kind of predates even Baxter's city engineering contract here. We're very comfortable with Baxter and Woodman's results with their GIS program. Mr. Zaletto to my right, he's their program manager. Most of their staff that works within the GIS program have been with them for numerous years. We've worked with staff together on combined projects that have both saved the city money. I would not be interested in looking at any other firms to do GIS collection for us because of the positive results that we've had. Not to mention, last year we approved to do a web-based GIS with Baxter Woodman doing the hosting. That should be completed sometime, roll out July, August this year, and we'll be pleased to show that to you as well, allowing residents of the city, yourselves, including my staff, access on any computer that is web capable to go online and see a city GIS map, to look at the street sufficiency study and see what year a road's going to be done. See if they have water main on the left side or right side of their house. See where their sanitary sewer service line comes into play. In the outlying years in the CIP, you'll notice there's street parkway tree that we'd like to have point locations taken and incorporated with some of the tree data that we've done in years past. This will be an ongoing program for several years with multiple layers. The contract you have in front of you is twofold. One is for the street signs that we currently have, and I'll make a brief explanation about that a little later if you give me a few moments. And then water service valves are the other, commonly referred to as the Buffalo box, curb stop. When we collected our water data, we mainly stayed just with the water service, water main lines, the hydrant locations, our water towers, our ground storage towers. We did not get the actual residential shutoffs, which, as you know, the city owns from the basic water main to where we can shut it off at the property line. And we'd like to get that data so we have accurate information on our water map, complete through our entire system all the way to the shutoff. So there's no possibility of a shutoff being missed. A house gets torn down, a house gets rebuilt. Did they have a service there before the property gets sold? There was a service there, and then they tear down another house. Perhaps there's some work done, the house is remodeled, there's an old service, it gets lost. Next thing you know, you have unaccounted for water leaks, things like that, because there's a service that has a saddle and a tap sitting out in the middle of a property somewhere. So it just gives us tighter control on our water system, a better understanding of where all of our systems are. Also, when we're doing road construction, we know that a specific service for a home is tied in off of one street. We know specifically it came into play on Elmhurst Street. We had a lot of water services that came off the side streets, Hemlock, Oak, Cedar, Catalpa, and we thought they came off of Elmhurst. In actuality, they came off the side streets. So all information that'll be very good. As long as I'm continuing, I'll just jump in with these street signs real quick. This year, the MUTCD regulations, the manual on uniform traffic control devices specifies that in the next 2 years, all municipalities that maintain any roads, public roads, outside of a private road, any public roads need to have a plan set in place for sign maintenance and ultimately reflectivity. And reflectivity is the prismatic effect of a light shining on a street sign, specifically a stop sign, speed limit sign, curve ahead sign, traffic control device of some kind, giving the driver an information. Ultimately, in 2018, it'll be street information signs, Wooddale Road, Hemlock, Catalpa. Those will all have to be as well compliant. But in the outlying years, we need to develop a plan by January 1, 2012. Currently, the city does not have any written books, maps, indication of how many signs we have out there. We don't know. You'll see in the contract before you, I picked a number out of a hat of 10,000 signs. That includes a sign that's on your average street that may say, no parking, snow ordinance during these hours, might have a watering ban underneath it, and it may have, please pick up your dog waste underneath that. Those are 3 signs. So again, we need to know that there's each of those 3 signs on that post. All information that ultimately may come into play, even if there's an ordinance issue, no parking, things like that. So that's the second half of this contract that you have before you. So I apologize for my lengthy explanation, but I wanted to just make sure that I touched on all those topics. Myself and Andy both are here to answer questions outside of that.
I have a question on the breakdown. Number 2, the collective or collect structure locations, 990 hours. That's 25 weeks of work. What exactly is the 990 hours? What are you doing?
GPS data collection.
Go ahead.
Basically, what it is on-site or field-based GPS data collection. So every single sign and service valve will be shot with a handheld GPS unit.
Okay, and your estimate is 990 hours of that? Is that just one person doing that? Or?
Yes. Yeah, we basically just have one person in the field. So the hours could be, we could dedicate 2 people with 2 GPS units, and the 25 weeks would be broken to 12 and a half weeks. Hours would be the same.
Okay, I mean, that just sounds like a lot of time.
Well, we're estimating that there's 10,000 signs. So that's that the costs you see here and the hours here are based on the 10,000 signs and 5,000 B boxes and 5,000 service valves. So the estimate would be for 15,000 points collected, GPS points collected in the field, which we're estimating and I can't remember exactly what the per day average was that we used is like 150, I believe, points collected per day.
Are you actually walking?
Yep.
Doing this?
Yeah, because basically when we're talking about service valves and signs, you're better off just picking a location and going and shooting everything you see as you're moving down the road.
Okay, thank you.
Alderman Wesley?
Oh, me.
Roy Wesley?
You said 15,000 points? So that's over 1,000, over 1,000 a point?
Mr. Kramer?
15,000 points meaning 10,000 individual signs and 5,000 individual Buffalo boxes. A point is considered one mouse click on a GPS unit, and then recording that information, that's 1 point. That's what we're talking in GPS collection.
So one click is over $1,000.
$1,000?
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I'm misunderstanding what I'm saying. Okay. I get, like, one more question.
Roy Wesley?
John, do you actually think you need this at this point to move forward right now, considering what the state is considering to doing of the $300,000 shortfall for the city of Wooddale possibly?
Mr. Kramer?
We don't have a choice with street signs. We're mandated to have a response and a plan in place for the retro reflectivity for our street signs. That means every street sign in the city of Wooddale that in some way gives driver information needs to be, in their words, inspected and a plan developed by 2012. So we need to do something with the street signs. As far as our water valves are located, could we push that off? Possibly. I wouldn't recommend it. I think it's something that was omitted in the water GIS originally that should have been included, and I think it leaves our system incomplete, and I think staff and our ability to give good customer service has been hindered by not having that information. It would allow us to have better response time, both with turning on and turning off water services, water main breaks, seeing people who are affected. Ultimately, if we had that specific data, I think we would provide better
Okay.
service
Thank
to
you.
the residents.
Mayor, please.
Yeah, John, I also had a problem with that collective structure, 990 hours, basically 24 weeks. But about half hour ago, we were told the street sufficiency study took 2 guys 2 weeks, 160 hours. Now we're clicking signs and it's going to be 990 hours.
Mr. Kramer?
Again, that's a high estimate. I know I've got somewhere in the neighborhood of, Brad's not here, but 4,200 water accounts. The 500 number, the 5,000 number for water accounts is high by at least 800, if not a few more. Street signs, it was a wag. It was a guess. It's 10,000. It could be X amount of poles, and if they're at a pole and there's 3 signs on it, that's not going to be any more than just entering it's this number of street sign. Each street sign is given a specific number. If it's, something average, like a no sprinkling ban, stop sign, yield sign, there's a specific number, a TM number or an AS number for the actual sign. That's what's going to be involved in that. Again, this project could be significantly less, and Mr. Zaletta is asking to be recognized, so I'll turn it over to him too.
Go ahead.
And basically with every one of those shots, especially with the street signs, it's not just a walk down the street, bang, there's one, move on to the next one. They're collecting both the general condition assessment of the sign, type of sign, size of sign, the information that MUTCD is requiring as part of the collection. So there's kind of a list for every single sign of information that's required to provide as part of that inventory for them. So it's really going from the pole to the sign itself. So there'll be pole material, the general height of the pole, if there's any pedestals on the pole, things like that, and how they're mounted. So it's beyond just a walk by and mark a point. There's usually, you can estimate about 45 seconds to a minute for each GPS point to be shot, is kind of what we estimate. So we're kind of, we back out of that number, looking at the number John had, like he said, but 10,000 was a conservative estimate on John's part. So the thought is that number is going to be significantly less, which would lower not just the field data collection, but basically all these numbers would be, these hours would go down, because they're all kind of based on the number of positions collected and how it needs to be incorporated into the GIS.
Mayor?
But if we're locked into a contract of 120,000, then that's what we owe you, and you guys can tell us it's not a not to exceed or anything like that. I'm looking. Okay. All right, I got it.
We gotta change it.
What,
Oh, okay.
Alderman Roy Wesley.
what does this come out to an hourly rate?
What does the total number come out to on an hourly rate?
Yeah, if you take out, not to exceed 120,000, what's that come out, 900, how much? 140? I understand that, but an hourly rate.
Go ahead.
$83.91 per hour.
I might overstepping my boundaries here, but I'm gonna say it anyways. Can't an intern engineer do this?
Mr. Kramer?
Currently, we don't have anyone in the city that's capable of collecting GIS points. We don't have anyone that's gone through the training. I'm the only one that has a little bit of GIS experience, and I'm still waiting to take my training class in August of this year for the latest ArcView class. So again, I believe we are constantly increasing our customer service with this program, and the more we add to it only benefits to the city. I know there's an expense, the street signs, all that information, once we have it, we own it. You can't take it away, all you have to do is modify it. So again, this information will be out there for long past my career here in Wooddale, probably longer than most residents here. Again, this information will be here, and it'll be only changed and modified. This is not a software program that's going away. It's not a fly-by-night sort of component. This is going to be something that's interlinked in Public Works forever.
My point on this is at $83.91 an hour to do this. I'm sure there's gonna be an intern at Baxman Woodman doing this work here, and just someone else, and then another engineer doing the work in the office. I think that's a little high for the dollar amount, and I know it's an estimate. of $120,000. And I like to put I don't know if I could put an offer on the table at $100,000 for approval of that, even though it's 120 here.
Is that a question?
You could say it as a question. The next is a motion.
I'm really,
Alderman Eugene Wesley?
I would be very lenient about doing that for legal perspective. We are asking to revamp another contract out here. And for them to commit to another contract right here in front of us, I just don't know
Well-
if they could do that.
In that case, because there's, in my point of view, is I'm seeing a lack of communication from Baxman Woodman on my behalf. So, in that case, if that's the case, I'll make a motion, because at $83.91 an hour, they're gonna hire, I'm telling you, they're gonna go hire an intern to do this summer. There's no doubt about it. Let's not be foolish on this. And at $83.91,